Oh, testing. Mic check. Test, test. Fan on. Oh, testing. Can you hear me? Or am I being gated by my fan? And I'm going to switch this set over. That's good. Okay. About 2 more minutes. These stragglers pop in. Hello, Power Fries. How are you doing tonight? Or today? Depending on where you are. Also, can you hear my fan? I have a standing fan running on in the background. It's hot as hell today. Yep, enamel game. I assume we're gonna reach that today because we don't have too much more to do in terms of airbrushing. So we'll wrap up all the airbrushing and then I gotta switch my setup over back to my desk. But we will be covering at least basic techniques and hopefully mixing some stuff today. So that will be good. It's getting toward the end, honestly. We don't have too much left. Oh, let's might as well get started talking. So, today, I guess, as a discussion before we start, we've got quite a bit of stuff on our agenda today. Oh, audio's laggy. Let me turn off my fan. Okay. Well, maybe the fan is noise gating stuff. Let me turn it off. And now let me know if you can hear me better or worse. Because I did have, okay, yeah, it definitely sounds like that was my fan. And then I have basically like a noise filter that'll shut off my airbrush booth. But it must have been picking up my standing fan. So that's fine. We can go a little bit without it until I start sweating. Then I'll need to like change things up. But anyway, so today we have quite a bit on our agenda. As you guys can see, we are going to wrap up this figure's little baby shoes with my airbrush, and then after that, kind of switch up my setup and move into talking about enamels. So enamel painting is a hand painting method. We'll go all into that. I want to show you guys a couple different brands, general tools I use, and then we're gonna just kind of start going at it at this figure. So that's kind of the last step of what I do is enamels. So all the base painting and shading is done with my airbrush, and then kind of the wrap up and painting eyes and stuff is done with enamel. So yeah, basically that's kind of what we'll be doing. Stuff that I did do and didn't do prior to the stream. So between, on Tuesday, basically, I drilled a little hole, or I drilled little holes into the space. And so I remember I showed you guys the space on Monday. Sorry, I got a screen glare. I'm gonna move my laptop. So yeah, I showed you guys the space on Monday, the one that I've selected over instead of the one that the kit included. And so I just drilled 2 holes into it. You can see if it'll, come on. Camera was being a little bit slow in registering today, so I'm gonna have to try to be a little patient. There we go. So you can see the holes right here. These are what I drilled into the base, and they, yep, yep, enamels. So these are what I drilled into the base, and this is just going to sit. She's got little, pegs that go right in here, but it's still super stable. So all you'll really need to do is just push it down, and you can see she doesn't move at all really. And then if you glue, you know, the feet to the base, it's even more of a stuck fit. So that's what I did in my off time. You can kind of see them here too. So that's the only problem with acrylic bases, is that you can see them, you know, but you're not really going to be looking at it straight on most of the time. So it's not really a concern. Also, stuff we wrapped up last time was the skirt and all the, you know, her shoulder pad and everything. And so all of those have been glossed and they are now fabulously shiny. Very, getting that red tint for sure on them since we added that pearl top red coat, or the pearl red top coat. So yeah, these pieces will not be this shiny once we, you know, assemble the kit, because we're gonna have to put a matte top coat on top. But it came out really super smooth, and so I'm pretty happy with it. I debated changing the color and making it a little bit darker, but after I assembled her, you know, I liked it. So we're good to move on. And also see the piece just, oops, because we use the magnet, the piece just kind of falls into place. So you can really see it starting to come together. It will be fun once we are able to actually assemble this. So that's pretty much that. We did also paint her ribbon on Monday. I decided I did not like the color, just did not match well with her hair. So I did decide to wipe the color off, and I will not be doing this tonight due to time constraints, but I'm thinking of just painting it white and having it match, you know, her outfit, because I have a fun idea for the base, and I think I'm just gonna keep the colors kind of neutral on the maid herself. So, I don't know if you guys can see all the red Bondo on it, but it's got all that Bondo still, and so I have to re-putty, or not, well, kind of re-putty, and re-prime everything, and so it's gonna take just a little bit, not too long, but enough I don't want to bother stream. So with that, I think that covers everything that we did last time, and so tonight we are just gonna jump straight in. We are going to mask off these shoes, and I want to spray them a darker purple. So I decided against the red. I think I'm just going to have them kind of match her outfit. If not, you know, make them a little bit darker, not really sure. But either way, these are going to be airbrushed, but I have to go in and cut tiny masking tape. So we're going to have to use masking tape and go all the way, you know, mask off her little gap here between her straps and her shoe, and then the tops here. So this shouldn't take too long. We'll only be, you know, we'll be working with very little tape. So I'm just gonna go ahead and mask off those shoes, and then once we have them all masked, I'm gonna jump straight into airbrushing them that darker purple. So we do have a little bit of time, you know, before we airbrush. So if you guys have any questions, you just want to chat about anything, feel free. I will be around. I need to grab this, and so yeah, I think we did cover masking before, but what I'm using is a metal stencil that will allow you to cut straight lines. So I use this for masking, for cutting really small lines in order to mask small areas. So right now I'm cutting a 0.75 width piece of tape, and I'm gonna cut that, or apply that. Will not show up. Hi, monkey. Wrap up in terms of wrapping up my airbrush booth. So we are pretty much all done with all of the airbrushing, spraying for this figure. And after we're done with that, we are going to move into enamels and painting with enamels. So that's kind of the detail step that we do, and some people do for garage kits, to clean up things and make things just look cleaner, I guess. Fill in details, etc. Very popular among Japanese modelers to use the enamel painting method. You guys are probably not going to see how small these tapes are. This one might actually be too small, actually. We'll see. Kind of playing it by ear here. It's gonna be a little annoying trying to deal with this small size. This will probably take me anywhere between 15 to 20 minutes to get all of this masked off. Mostly because we also, well, it's not a flat surface one, it's a curved like angle, and the area is so small that I really want to make sure that I line everything up correctly. So I'll show little bits here and there, but you can see the tape is starting to go on, so I gotta put it in the corners. Yeah, I wish this kit was finished. Not because I don't like you guys, but around the time I finish airbrushing is when I start getting a little bit fussy and I want it done. Sometimes it's easy like this one and there's not too much detail work to do, and other times there's a lot of cleanup, so we are sadly not done. Although I have started thinking about what kit I want to paint in my next, like our next stream or our next kit. So that will be fun if I decide which one to choose. I've got a couple in mind. It just depends. Would you guys rather see like a licensed character or another original character? Because I have both and I'm kind of deciding at this point which one to do. If we do a licensed character, chances are it's not going to be someone that you all know and love, such as Saber or Miku or whatever, because I have Miku kits, but I don't have any Sabers, and I collect mostly originals, so like a lot of the times, you know, you want to pick a character that people will recognize and know, but even the ones I own that are characters, a lot of people don't know. I'll put up links later, or I'll, you know, find photos and make like a compilation or something and post it. Because I'm open to both. Good that we got this 0.75, because the bottom of these straps is really small area. Hollow I would rather see an original kit. Any reason why in particular, or just because you like originals? I do too. As I just said. They're a lot of fun just because you can be a little freer in your color choice and there's not as much stress to get it looking exact. Oh, this is a tough spot. Her shoes, man, they are so small. Sorry if I'm really, like, I know I'm blocking this, you guys, but I'll show a photo once, or show it close up on the camera. Need a toothpick as well. I vote a kit that shows different techniques you haven't already shown. Interesting. That is interesting, Monkey. I'll have to think about that, because a lot of the techniques that I do use are what I showed here, and that's kind of why I chose this kit too, so I could show you guys most of what I do in a typical kit. I do have kits that need a lot more masking. I'll think on it. You love, oh, just grabbed my scissors and took this with it. You love what I do with original kits. Thank you. That means a lot, actually. They're some of my favorites to paint. I know I keep saying it. So that makes me happy that someone likes seeing it, you know. Yeah, I really enjoy them. I actually do have like a couple ideas for originals that I want to work on soon. But again, it's like a matter of finding time, and then I'm so busy with trying to wrap up all my commission stuff, standing new stuff, that I'm probably expecting not to get back to like my own originals for a good amount of time this year. Okay, let's think for this next piece of masking tape that I cut. I can make it a little bit larger. Getting very far with this 0.75. The insides that are so annoying. Oh my god. There we go. There we go. What I'm doing right now is outlining the area as I've shown before in the masking process. And then we'll go in and fill that in with slightly larger tapes, but we want to make sure that we get the area as close to the shoes as possible. Otherwise, we're going to have to do a little bit of cleanup. And that's always more annoying than just, you know, masking it correctly the first time. Let me move the space too, because I'm getting the feeling that the camera will probably focus on that. Oh, here. Here. Oh man, I'm gonna have to go in under through. There we go. This tape just sticks to my toothpicks and tweezers. We might have to go in with some white after when we're doing the enamel cleanup, because the inner side of these shoes is really challenging to mask. And you guys and everyone in general is not going to see a lot of the inside of the shoe, so I'm not quite as concerned. This one too, and then I'll bring it up close and show you guys what I'm doing. Oh boy. Oh my god, it's not coming off the tweezer. Okay, I'm gonna cut a new one. Also, I'm gonna do one shoe at a time. My issue is I keep bouncing back and forth. You guys can kind of see the yellow here along the strap. I can shade it. A little bit easier to see, but yeah, I gotta mask all of that in between. And so that is gonna be a little time consuming. We'll work on the left shoe first. And for challenging areas, sometimes you can't really put a long strip of masking tape along because the area either isn't flush or straight, and so usually I just cut a bunch of tiny squares and apply them along the side. Show you what I mean in a second. Looks like that's probably what I'm gonna have to do here. Square method. Tiny squares will go all along the whole kit. And optional after that is using some masking liquid to keep it all in place. But we're going to be spraying this right away after, so I am not going to do that. Plus I don't want to have it dry and wait the whole time. Yeah, tiny squares is the way to go here. The only problem is when you airbrush it, your surface, if you're not perfectly aligning every single one of those squares, is going to be a little bit jagged, but we can do cleanup on that after, so. And grab some more. Cut a ton of tiny squares. That one's not too good. So it kind of goes without saying, but you also want your masking edges to be straight, because otherwise paint is gonna, when you spray that airbrush, paint is gonna fill in everything. What I also like to do is kind of go in with a Q-tip and press it, or not Q-tip, sorry, toothpick. Press it down into, make sure all the stickiness is off my kit. Once I'm finished with this foot, I'll show you guys. Need to cut this one. I might put a tiny glob. Keep some of this down. See how I feel. Okay, so one shoe is basically done at this point. You can kind of, well, now you can really see it, but the goal here is to mask all of that off and not have any of the tape pull up. And so after we finish this other side, we're gonna do kind of the top straps here. Sorry, I'm looking at the camera as I do this. We're gonna do the top, probably up to around like here, because I don't want any overspray to hit any part of these tights, but we do need to spray her straps as well. And I think I am gonna grab that liquid mask. I'm just gonna put a very, very small drop, 1 or 2, down on it. Whoa, my rolling cart. And that way that tape's not gonna pull up, because the Lamia tape, like, it lays down flat, but after a little while, and it's probably because I, put the tape on my finger, I find that it tends to pull up just a tiny bit. Enough to mess you up when you're not looking for it. Hopefully I don't hit this. Oh, already did that. Alternatively, you could liquid mask this area after you outline it with the tape, but in the sake of, or in the interest of saving time, I decided not to. So I just added a couple small drops of the blue, you can see here, and this was just liquid masking to keep that tape down. So now we can move on to her other shoe, or her other foot, I guess. And we'll do the same thing on the other side. Tiny squares all the way across. Got a little tape here. So I'll just snip. Not really any particular size that I'm going for here, or length. I just want to be able to cover here. Also, it is so warm here today. I don't know what happened to our weather because it's just been all over the place. It was almost 90 degrees today. Luckily, it's not humid. That was actually a really great day for spraying paint, which will be good for us. I don't need this either. I'm gonna get as much focus on these pieces as we can. This tape I cut was a little bit bigger, so it does cover. And sadly, I'm not one of those people who gets a perfect masking job every time. I really, really wish I was. But after every single masking I do, it seems like I have some sort of issue. Either like paint peels up, which I hope isn't a problem here, or I just miss an area. And so one kind of sneaky tip that I learned after doing this enough is that if you gloss coat your piece, so if you're painting lacquer, this only applies to lacquer, so I don't know if it will work with other paints. But if you're spraying lacquer and you have your piece, base coated, and you top coat it with gloss, a nice, thick gloss layer, after you spray another layer of lacquer on top, like what we're doing here, if there's any overspray, you can take it off with a tiny bit of thinner and like a very fine Q-tip, like a precision toothpick or Q-tip, like these, and you will not affect that layer of paint underneath, nor will you affect the gloss coat. But you have to be very quick about it and know what you're wiping off, because otherwise it will eat away at it eventually. So what I tend to do with stuff like this is that, I almost always miss an area, but then I can just clean it up really quickly with a precision Q-tip. And that cuts down a lot of the time that I need to spend cleaning up details with enamel. So that's just something that I do if the kit allows. And if that happens here, I can show you guys kind of in real time what I mean by doing that. Okay, only a little bit left. And then we're gonna cut a longer piece and put it around her straps and kind of work our way up the legs. Let's see. Hello, it's me, Bobby. I changed my Twitch name, but I never followed, so I want to pop in and drop my follow. Well, thank you. Thank you, Bobby. Yeah, Curry will be on top of these, like making sure you follow. So thank you, I appreciate it. Don't feel like you have to follow me just because Curry says so. That makes me feel bad. Not that I feel bad that you followed me, but I want people to actually follow me who are interested too. Okay, this is the annoying area here, because it's really right on the inside of her shoes here. I really wish the sculptor had made her shoes like come off or her have separate feet, because it has just been so annoying sanding in between her legs and trying to get everything, trying to get this masking tape to go in. A lot of this would just be solved if she had legs that popped out, you know? Motivation pushed you to load up Twitch because you're well, good. Glad you got it over with and it wasn't so scary, right? Right now we are just doing some masking on this little kit's shoes. Kind of hard to tell because I'm, you know, blocking it, but all this yellow tape we're putting on is preparation for paint we're about to spray through my airbrush. So we put all this tape on, so we kind of literally masking off an area that we don't want to spray. Almost done here. I think 2 more pieces of tape will do it. Oh, so annoying. And honestly, this is just me kind of going the extra mile here. You could also, if you have a kit like this, you could totally just paint it, like with hand painting, and that would do exactly the same thing. And chances are I'm gonna have to go in and hand paint this anyway to clean it up. So, but I kind of want a gradient, so I want the bottom of the shoes to be darker than the top of the shoes, and so that's why I'm doing all of this. I need like 1 more triangle piece of tape. Let's see. Hello, Mon. Oh, hi, Allie. How are you doing? I'm doing well. Did you catch my spiel about masking? Because that's what we're doing real quick before we wrap up the airbrushing. We're masking off her shoes. Thank you, Gooby. I promise it is actually more exciting than this. Me blocking off this tape all the time. Gotta get it to drop. Kind of just push it into place so they keep interchanging them. Oh boy. I have my window open. I think someone's smoking some dank koosh. I am smelling it. We have a neighbor and that seems to be their hobby. But it's like the stuff you get in high school. Oh, you're someone who likes masking, I see. I kind of hate it, so, and especially in an area that is so difficult to reach. So a lot of times I try to avoid it, but I seem to be doing it more and more often these days because either the kits I'm working on are more complex or I'm using my airbrush to do more shading, and so I tend to just pull out the tape. This has been life-saving though. Yeah, pretty much, Allie. And also, good Gooby, what do you do? Do you draw? Do you paint? Always happy to see artists tuning in here. What I do is a little bit different than, illustration or anything, but it's all art. I appreciate everyone's art. Okay, also just giving you guys a follow up. Most of the shoes at this point are masked off. You can see I am now going to just put those little liquid mask dots on it to hold it down. Let's see, could I technically use a liquid mask in an X-Acto to trim off anything you don't want? Interesting question, Monkey. I have attempted to do that before, but I find it's like there's a fine line between when the liquid mask is too goopy and then when it's just too dry and you risk like cutting into your kit as well. So it is possible. What I find usually is I don't mess with it like that. What you can do is when it's still kind of liquidy form is just scrape it, like scrape it into the area that you want with a toothpick. And I have done that and that works. But I have tried cutting the X-Acto, like using an X-Acto blade and cutting the tape or the masking liquid while it's on a kit, and it did not go well. So I'm a little scared now. That's just me. It might work. What I find easier is just kind of outlining the edge and then filling that in with liquid mask, and that way the mask will fill in everything. But due to the small area that this kit, like this tape occupies, and the time constraint, I don't think we want to wait around for this glue to dry, or masking liquid. I'm only marked up easy pieces. Yeah, it's just time consuming. Let's see, I actually don't do much yet. I'm trying to learn though, because I'm going to animation again. Oh, awesome! Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome. Definitely, like, art these days is a self-learned thing you can do, going to school helps a lot, but really just like practice, that's the best way. So yeah, that's all I can say is practice, practice, practice. No, of course, I welcome all questions, Monkey. That was actually very interesting. And there's all sorts of stuff you can do with, these tools, and different people have different ways they think about them, and so that's what's great about this hobby is you can kind of, pull your thoughts together and come up with new solutions to things. Okay, so I'm gonna cut a slightly longer piece, or larger width, I guess. So I'm cutting a 2mm width piece, and that is going to loop around the top of her straps. And from there, we can use larger and larger pieces. We don't need to cut the straps down, or cut the tape down too thin. The big thing here will be just making sure it lines along the straps. So cut it in half. And put this down. I'm gonna put the beginning of the tape kind of on the inside of her shoe, or her strap, sorry, because that loops around. If there's any problems with the alignment, I'm not going to be in an area where you guys will see it. And this is where also curved masking tape will help you possess any, because that way you can just kind of pull it around. But the thinner your tape is, the easier it will be to loop around it. So I'm actually just going to cut this off and continue. It's very rarely when you have like a shape like this will your tape go around nice and smoothly. This one is definitely like her shoe is angled and her strap is angled. And one more bit. Something happened on the back of her leg here. Either got scratched or I hit it with my toothpick. But that's fine. A little scratch Dang it. I might fill that in with enamel later. Alright, so you can see the strap kind of goes around, and her back of her shoe isn't straight. See how it kind of goes down? And so we want to make sure the tape hits that area. Asking with special putty or silly putty. Yes, that is also an option. A lot of people use blue tack or some sort of putty, you know, to mask off their area. I actually have a putty. It's on top of my bench over here. But just because of the small nature of this particular kit, the putty would be too difficult to kind of put into place. So it's a lot easier if you're like painting eyes or something and you need to mask off a portion of that. Putty would help with that, as well as larger pieces. I just find that a lot of the kits that I work on are so small that like you really have to use a lot less material, and so stuff like putty is kind of hard to get on accurately and more trouble than it's worth usually. Okay. And oh, there it is. Okay, we're gonna need a tiny bit of cleanup, I think, once we mask that off, but that's fine. Okay, and let's do like one more piece and it should be good. And then we'll use a larger piece of tape. Yeah. It's something. To be honest, like this is usually the scale I work at, and so I'm, oh my god, once again this gets stuck and goes flying. I'm used to masking like areas off that are this small, so I can't relate when people say they love masking, because I'm just like, yeah, but I have to use tweezers constantly. Okay. Alright, so we're gonna line the top here with a little thicker piece, which you can see now that the straps are all basically masked off around the very, you know, top of her strap, but we want to work our way up probably around here. At least I do that out of safety, just in case the airbrush decides to go crazy. Let's see, other than the yeah, you heard about my plaid. I think that was the toughest one for sure. And that one was just like a testament to my patience, because I never want to do that again. Well, at least anytime soon. And I did not have this at the time, and so I basically measured out the width of every single like stripe that I put on. For those of you unfamiliar, as my site like past build cycle through, there's a little figure of a boy with a cape, and he's got some plaid. He has a plaid hair, and he has plaid like accents along his sleeves. He shows up all pointed out. But that was the hardest masking job I ever did. Other than that, I'm gonna have to watch watch my slideshow go by and see, because like I don't remember off the top of my head, but once they pop up, I'm just like, oh god, I remember that. That one was pretty tough. That figure that's sitting right there, CC2chan, that was a commission for a client, and she had a lot of different areas that needed a lot of different color, and so and all of them were on the same piece, so it was really a matter of painting one color, making sure everything's masked off properly, do the next thing, yada yada. So that one was pretty challenging. Let's see, that one was not too challenging. My little giraffe girl, that was pretty straightforward actually, and I painted that one really quickly too. It was like a for fun one. Oh, Toko was fun too. She didn't have as much masking as you'd think either, though. Really, it was just her socks. Once it's straight lines, though, like those lines on her socks, That was pretty easy. And then Foss, of course, Foss and Cinnabar. That one actually was a tough masking job because I masked off all of her little the design on her legs, or their legs, sorry, the design on their legs, and then hand painted all of that. But cutting that out and getting that aligned in a way that looked close to the manga, oh my god, that took forever. A lot of Q&A went into that one, so I'd probably say that one was the toughest job. And that was all like R&D and, you know, cutting patterns, and I think I still have her pattern, or there, I keep saying her, I'm sorry. Let's see. No, I don't have it, but I do make like patterns, and so this was like the one on CC2 on that I masked off. Oh, maybe it's back here. Yep, here it is. So I had to like make and measure and cut a pattern for Phosphophylite's legs, but it had to match, you know, the figure exactly and curve in a way that made it look good. So that was fun. Watching this piece wants you to avoid problems. Yeah, I have a love-hate relationship with ruffles, just because if they're cast really well, they're amazing. But if they're not, you spend a lot of time cleaning up the ruffles and repairing everything. So that is just so annoying. We're about ready. I'm gonna put one more layer along the top here. Nothing too crazy. Do I hand paint eyes? Yes, every single one of my eyes so far is hand painted. So I do not use decals just because a lot of times I don't like how they look. Also, I don't have that many kits that have nice decals. There's very few that do. And so a lot of times I opt for painting eyes. And my clients usually ask me to paint their eyes too. Not their eyes, their kids' eyes. Even if it comes with decals. And so I've already had like 2 or 3 situations where the client's kit came with decals and they're just like, no, can you hand paint it? And if they're willing to pay it, then it's fine with me. You charge for R&D. Sadly, I wish I could charge myself. That Phosphophyllite and Cinnabar is sitting in my detolf, and so that was a personal project that I wanted to do for many years, and I had so many ideas floating in my head, and I finally just decided to wrap it up with after the manga hit a dramatic turn, and my heart said I cannot handle this anymore. I need to finish this piece I've been thinking about. And then somehow it got worse in the manga. Worse and worse and worse. And I was just like, my heart's broken. Alright, so we're pretty much good now. As you can see, she's wearing some nice like thigh highs, weird robo thigh highs, all yellow tape. The whole top is done, and then the bottom, I'm just gonna double check, make sure nothing's peeling up, which it already is. So prior to just spraying this real quick, I'll probably go and push it down with this. Let's see. Holy heck, hand painting eyes literally reason I cannot commit to it. Yeah, you just gotta go for it. Like, it's always scary, like no matter what. And I can say that as someone who has painted dozens of eyes. It doesn't get, like, the sense of being scared of it doesn't get easier, but once you start and you have the skill set, like, your confidence grows. So really, I can say that the hardest, like, eye painting, for me at least, is when there's zero guideline. So most kits, you know, like this Maid or any regular kit, will come with kind of eye sockets, and so you at least have a guideline of where to start your kit and where to put, you know, the whites of the eyes and then the eyelashes. But there's been, a couple of times I've had kits and they have had zero guideline, like completely zero, just a flat kind of Nendoroid, you know, smooth face. And so those are the most challenging ones if you're not familiar with how to paint anime eyes or placement of the eyes, you know. They just seem to take me a little bit longer. You also have to deal with making it symmetrical, and so it's just kind of more time consuming. Oh, love the plaid paint job. It was, oh, thank you so much, Hololive. Yeah, thanks guys. That really means a lot because that one was something. My client was very happy with it, so I can't complain. But yeah, that was a very, very time consuming deal. And it's such a shame that you can't see the back of the cape because there's an entire galaxy print of like stars and, you know, the whole space sky on that cape. And none of it shows up in those photos. But that's just part of the character. Like, the whole series is based on like book authors, and then that author of the book series had like a book that was about like space and a train. Miyazawa Kenji. I forgot the name of the book. I'm not a book a learned scholar. But because of that, the Japanese design paid homage to it and put him with like a galaxy cape. So anyway, I'm getting off topic. At this point, we are pretty much good to paint this. So I am going to do what we did on Monday and spray this with, you know, whatever color we mixed. My mind is blanking. This dark plumish color. I also have this mixture, the kind of darker one that we did on Monday as the shadows. And so the good thing about lacquer is you can just spray more thinner into this and then it will mix up again. And so I plan to use a little bit of this and see how it goes. But we're gonna spray this real quick and then probably put the pearls on top as well. Yeah, and just spray the red pearls, and then after that we can finally move on. So it actually took much longer than I thought, sorry guys, but we definitely still have time to do enamels and talk about them. So let me get this ready. Thought you were describing Paimon's. Yeah, Paimon's cape is very similar to his cape actually, and so hers is a little bit more sparklier, I think. But that was very much like, that's what it looked like. Oh, fun times. So much detail on that kit. Oh yeah, I actually forgot about those tassels, Paula. That kit has so challenging, and that was my first commission too. So I was like, you know what? My thought process was, this is the hardest commission I'm ever gonna do for a long time. And so after that, like, I can do anything. Oh my god. You gotta start hard, and then you'll have the confidence to go on and do everything else. Okay, so I'm going to basically just turn my booth on and get all this out of the way. As always, I'll be noise gated in between, so you guys won't hear me when this is on. Marcy's watching with me. So, yeah, there's a lot of complaining about that kit, but it was well worth it. It was just challenging, very challenging kit, but it was fun. So I like doing that. I like challenging myself, especially because the size was so small. He was only about that big, fully built, so there was a lot of small details on it. Okay, enough talk. I'm gonna turn this on and spray real quick. So. a brief intermission while I clean out this one. Just give it a quick flush, and then I'm gonna spray the bottom with the darker blackish color, darker plum. What you could have certainly also done is I just basically saturated the piece in the plum, but you could focus it, and so there's less, spray kind of on the tops of her shoes, and so that'll give it a little bit of additional shading. But really what I want to go for here is a darker shoe color and have it fully glossed up, so I did not do that. And there was a lot of black in here, so I'm gonna add a bunch more thinner. This paint is spraying very fluid today because it's so warm outside. So once your temperature lines up, and the warmer your temperature is, your paint is gonna spray faster and easier than if it did when it was in a cold environment. You just don't want to deal with the high humidity, because then high temperature and high humidity starts to mess things up and it gets funky. Right, I'm gonna kind of scrape the bottom of this cup. Really, we're just kind of trying to mix the thinner with the paint that's been sitting here since Monday. And that's the thing about lacquer, as I said before, it's thinnable, so you can let it sit in a cup for a day or two, and then add some lacquer thinner in it, and it'll dissolve and thin out again, as opposed to like acrylic paint, where if you let it dry and it gets all cakey, there's really no coming back from that. So that's why a lot of people choose to use lacquer as well, because the paint kind of goes a little bit farther. Alright, I'm gonna test this out real quick. I did thin it a lot. Oh yeah, it's nice and thin. So this will come out pretty dark. I'm going to switch out my airbrush now with my bigger one, so we can quickly spray those red pearls on top. We've got to put some ruby red on before we continue, so also avoid yeah, once you live in the south or somewhere with high humidity, definitely harder to control your environment. dehumidifiers in a room, you know, really help. I'm kind of struggling with that now since moving back to the East Coast. West Coast, they didn't really have to deal with any humidity at all, basically zero all the time. And so if anything, you know, the paint dried too fast sometimes. But here, you know, even a year later, I'm still kind of trying to find the right mixture of when to spray, what temperatures cause what reactions. It's been interesting. A lot of people just have a garage that they put like a dehumidifier in, so that might be an option. Alright, gonna turn this off. Take that out. So far, so good with these shoes. After we spray these pearls, we're basically just gonna let this sit for a little while. And at that time, once I'm done with this, I'll convert my setup over to my regular desk, so to the right of my airbrush station, where we started out in the first place. And then we can move into some other stuff, like talking about enamels. So just wanted to get all of this done on camera. What I'm also gonna do in place of using a plastic measuring cup is just pour my thinner and everything into this metal cup, because that will save a cup, and I only need a little bit of this, so don't need to waste it. So it works exactly the same. You just mix it in here and then pour it into your airbrush. And I'll wipe it with some more thinner after we're done. Okay, gonna take this back on. Alright, I'll clean this out, and then I will show you what it looks like, and from there we will switch the setup. It's gonna be a little bit of a hit and miss because it's been a while since I put that setup, and my bench is kind of busy on the right over here, so I might need to clean up some stuff. Okay, and let me just switch out my airbrush before I forget. I don't like to keep the master brush attached just because it's not my favorite. Gotta have my wad hooked up at all times. Alright, so that was pretty much the last piece that we needed to mask and paint off, other than the ribbon, which again I will do on my own time. I just did not have time on Tuesday because I'm working pretty hard on wrapping up a commission, so all my time went to that. Okay, so let's take a look. Her shoes. So these pearls are not glossed yet, so they might come out kind of funky looking. But basically, let's see. That's more or less what they look like right now. So once they're glossed, they will have a different effect. You know, they look kind of soft, but you can definitely see that red shine off of them. So once it's glossed, you can expect it to look closer to this. So quite a difference. Now that I think about it, no, we're gonna let this dry for a little bit, and then once we switch the setup over and I start talking, we can peel this tape off, and then I'm gonna have to gloss that separately. So generally I remove all of my tape and like do the top coats different. Also, this looks like it's blushing a little bit, but okay, to be determined. Getting a kind of a weird tint on it. I may have sprayed the let's see, the pearls too thickly. So once I take all the tape off, there's a couple ways to address that. You can see it's kind of getting this like frosty coat. Looks a little bit grayish. That can easily be fixed. You just need a little bit of thinner. So we will fix that later. In any case, we now need to switch the setup over to my other bench side. And so I'm going to put on my Be Right Back notice and get that hooked up. And then once we come back, we'll be in a place where we can, you know, talk about enamels and start mixing stuff together. So hang tight. I'm gonna put this Be Right Back on and see you guys soon. Okay, testing mic. Can you guys hear me? Going to switch this over soon. Seems like it's okay from my camera viewfinder, but there might still be a little adjusting because last time we had issues with it hitting my head and stuff. So let's see. Also, oh, let's see. This is kind of off my tripod thing, so okay. One more moment, guys. Like not aiming where I want it to go. Okay, that's pretty good. So let's switch over. Oh, well, that's not helpful. Let me reset this. Not reading. What's this? There we go. You guys see this okay? My bench. Had to apparently restart my camera for whatever reason. All the moving around did not help. I feel like the angle's kind of weird. I think it used to be lower before, but anyway, this is meant to be more of a primer on talking about enamel and then starting to do stuff. So we don't need to zoom in too far yet. Well, let me know if you guys can't hear me, but it should be fine. And actually, let me turn off my noise gate too. That way I can turn my fan back on. Okay. Alright, can you guys hear me? Like, for real? Let me know in comments, please. Because I messed with this setup, and I'm not sure. I don't want to start talking to myself. Can you all... Okay. Okay. If you can hear me, Allie, chances are everyone else can hear me, so that's fine. Alright, so we are back over here on this side of the bench, as they say, as I say, I guess. This is where we started out, and this is where we will end. So the airbrush is kind of my in-between step of doing everything. So, as you may or may not see, we have a very beautifully decorated towel here. That is thanks to the power of enamels, which we will talk about as soon as I put away this cutting template. There we go. Okay. Oh, wow. I don't know what happened to these boots, but they got funky. So after we talk about enamels, I'm going to spray those with thinner because they are just very cloudy. Anyway, so enamels, what are they? Enamels are a type of paint. They are different compared to lacquer paint and acrylic paint, so they're their own, you know, brand of paint. And so I cannot tell you right off the top of my head if what exactly they are compatible with. I do know that enamel paint meant to go with enamel thinner, so you want to be pairing those two together. You can actually thin enamel paint with lacquer thinner, but that's kind of a more advanced topic that beginners definitely don't want to cover. I really don't even use it that often, but because the lacquer is stronger, it will, you know, melt down the enamel, and you can spray it. But you can also spray enamel through an airbrush if you thin it enough. You can hand paint it, and so it comes in smaller containers compared to lacquer, and so, well, actually the amount might be the same. Let's see. See, the amount is a little bit less. I think they're usually, yeah, so usually you get like a 15 to 30 milliliter bottle when you're dealing with lacquers. For enamels, you're generally dealing with like 10 milliliters or less. So there's a couple brands that make enamel. Tamiya makes an enamel paint, so this is the Enamel by Tamiya. There's many colors in this range. This just happens to be their green one. This one is also very difficult to find in the States. Basically, you have to import Tamiya enamel paint. As widespread as the acrylic is, it's very difficult to find enamel paint. Not really anywhere in the US, even Volks and stuff don't really carry it. So same with Gaia Notes. So Gaia Notes also makes an enamel paint. This is just like their white, enamel white. Their paint range is quite a bit less varied in color compared to Tamiya. So Tamiya makes a full line of colors, and Gaia Notes basically does white, black, cyan, magenta, yellow, a couple of fluo colors, and that's pretty much it. So Gaia Notes enamel, you really need to know how to mix colors from the CMYK color scheme, I guess, the color range, because otherwise you're not going to be able to use them. Whoops, sorry. Another paint brand that's very popular, well, maybe not popular, they kind of have a rep, is Test Stores. And so Test Stores paints found in many hobby stores across the US, Michael's carries them, Hobby Lobby, whatever. These are also considered enamels, but they're an American brand. So the two down here are Japanese brands, and Test Stores is an American brand. At least they sell, made in Illinois, made in the USA. So these ones, kind of a love-hate relationship with them, honestly. For the most part, it's hate. Not a huge fan of Test Stores enamels. They come out kind of goopy. They take a while to dry. They don't really mix well. But there are a few gems here and there. But it really varies per bottle and per color. So like this one here, I actually bought for $1 because it was on sale at Michael's, and it is a metallic silver, and this bottle is actually great. This silver is better than the Tamiya silver that I own, and so I was really surprised. You can see the color, oops, right here. So really strong, nice silver. Very shiny, actually. It's shinier than the Tamiya silver, so I was pretty pleased for an impulse purchase. For the most part, I tend to stay away from using Tamiya or Test Stores enamels because I've had too many headaches in the past, but they're good in a pinch if you need them, if it's all you have access to. Humbrol is another brand that makes enamel paints, but personally I don't have any experience with those. Not really sure how they thin or how they work. To go with your enamel thinner, generally you will need or enamel paints, you'll need an enamel thinner. So this is Test Stores enamel thinner. You can just I bought this big gallon, or not gallon, 8 ounces off of Amazon. You can also buy the little mini jars at a hobby store, but I found you get a lot more bang for your buck with this larger one. And I go through so much that I found it useful just to buy this bigger one. Gaia Notes also makes an enamel thinner, but it's again really difficult to find, usually sold out. The only place I've really ever been able to find it is Seal Model, and so when they have it, I just throw it in my cart, but they didn't have it this time, and so I have been resorting to using Test Stores. Would also like to note that this brand, the Test Stores brand, is a little bit stinkier and probably more poisonous than the Gaia, well, they're probably both poisonous, but the Gaia Notes thinner, the enamel thinner, doesn't smell anywhere nearly as bad as this Test Stores stuff. And so very much when you're working with enamels, they're still flammable, they're still irritants, they're only one step down from lacquers in terms of being dangerous. And so you want to have proper ventilation when possible, keep a window open, the whole shebang there. I don't spray these through my airbrush, or I don't paint these in my airbrush booth. Sorry, my mouth is getting dry. I'm gonna have to take a drink. But I still keep all of my window open and everything, and just try to get the fumes out. And so, what do we use enamels for? They're primarily used for detail painting. So at least in Japanese garage kit modeling. Whoa, look at that! I got a bunch of spammies. I don't even know. How would I even delete these? Maybe Curry can delete them if he sees them. Please do not click these links. That's all I can say. But, okay, thank you, Curry. So yeah, what do we use enamels for in this hobby, and why do I use them? Nice, we got the full band hammer out. Let me get a drink first, and then I will tell you. Wow, okay. Alright, now that they're all banned, I will continue talking about enamels. So, what do we use them for? In this hobby, in garage kit building, enamels are used to paint details on top of lacquer paint. And the reason why we can use enamel is because enamels are weaker than lacquer paint, and enamel thinner is completely separate entity than lacquer thinner. And so what I mean by that is, say you've sprayed, you know, your piece here, you sprayed your gloss or your piece, you got a nice top coat on it. You want to make sure you have a gloss top coat, and then if you put enamel paint on top of here, you can basically just wipe off the enamel paint with enamel thinner, and it will not affect the gloss or the top coat or the paint underneath. So you can get really accurate with your paint, you know, precision and putting it on. It's easy to wipe mistakes away, which makes details really forgiving. You know, it's easier to paint eyeballs, because then, you know, if you're painting a really sharp eyelash, if you can just like wipe it away with your paintbrush, and you don't have any risk of like messing up the skin or anything underneath. And so I use a couple of different tools when I am painting eyes and details. I've got a bunch of brushes here, and you'll have to forgive me for these being in really poor condition because I was just working with them today, and so I don't even have the paint like off of it. So I use a couple of brushes. I actually have an entire cup of brushes, so let me pull that over. I have a whole cup here. So these are all the brushes I just keep kind of handy and at my disposal. I don't use all of these at all. They're really, some of them serve different purposes. Some of them I use for adding pastels on. They're all just kind of in this cup and sit here. But this one I use a lot for mixing like big batches of enamel. As you can see, it's still got enamel on it. Let's see. So yeah, it's really bad condition. You can see the fraying, but this is just kind of like my junky one at this point. I mix it. This one is another one that I use that slowly became a junky one. So you can see that the tip is not sharp at all anymore. So I use this for mixing like, you know, smaller batches of enamel. Let's see. Most of my detail work is done with really small brushes. So I have another one like this one that I like to use for painting the details, so I just kind of like this size. And I also have some Tamiya brand ones, so really small. Let's see, precision. There we go. Precision type paintbrushes, and this is tiny. Like, there's my finger, and here's the brush. So you can barely even see it. But this is perfect for working with my scale, like the scale of stuff I work on. I also have one of these thingies that I've been using more often. What brand is the red brown one? This is Princeton brand, so I really just bought this at like an actual art store. This was meant for oil painting, so I figured it would be good for enamel. But yeah, this is a round 3.0 brush. I like really pointy ones as opposed to like flat brushes, so I just kind of went into the store and was like, I want one of these. I have a bunch of other Tamiya ones too, but I find that like actual brushes meant for just painting regularly do the same job for the most part as like the brand ones. And so a lot of like my Tamiya brand ones, they go bad like really quick, and it's also because I just kind of use and abuse my brushes, so I need to take better care of my brushes, but a lot of them lose that pointy end, and so I like having access to brushes I can just buy. Anyway, so I also use one of these weird sponge thingies. I only started using this, so this is a Gaia Notes product. Let me see if I can pull out the packaging, because I have it in my closet. Oh, kitten, hello. Okay, Okay, so this was recommended by a couple of Japanese modelers. I've seen it like floating around on Japanese Twitter, and I had one for the longest time, but I never really pulled it out. But this is called the Gaia Notes Finish Master, and so it's basically, it's called the Finish Master Extra Fine R, and it's really just like a tiny precision sponge on this plastic apparatus, and so it comes with a bunch of these little tiny sponges. Sorry, it's focusing on this. It comes with all these little tiny sponges, and so then you just like stick them on the ends, and you can use them to wipe off mistakes. So if you have, like if this is a face, I also have one of these I'll talk about. You can just use the sponge to kind of wipe off, a mistake, and you can do it on the broad side. You can kind of go at it at a really fine angle. So I found this is really handy actually. I've used it both for enamel and lacquer and it's worked fine. They also give you a bunch of like extra little baby sponges, and so once you are done with one, and you fully use it and it's losing its edge, you could go ahead and use the next one and pull it out. And so these would be nice. I don't know if you can buy these just separate or if you have to buy like a whole Finish Master thingy. But yeah, this isn't just a new product I've added to my arsenal, so definitely not needed. I'd say only the past like one, maybe two of my kits that I painted, I think it might even be one. The past kit I painted, I used one of these thingies, so it's definitely not required at all when you're painting with enamel. It's just something nice to have. Other random stuff, this thing is just like a magnifying glass, like a tiny magnifier, and so sometimes when I really want to get up close, I use this and just look at a piece and see if I like the lines. There's plenty of different things you can use. I know people that hook up stuff to like a 50-inch TV and literally just like look at the kit as they're painting it and do it that way, almost like a microscope situation. That's a little bit too much for me. A lot of times, like, I'm working with such a small scale anyway that this is pretty much what I need, but that's pretty much that. And lastly, I guess, is just various Q-tips and stuff. So I've got these precision ones, as I've been kind of talking about before. These are just nail art precision Q-tips, so I use them for everything, cleaning up mistakes, cleaning up lacquer stuff. I also have these ones. These are Tamiya brand, like extra small Q-tips or cotton swabs. They have a very fine point, and I like the extra small above all the other ones. So, come on, camera. Got a lot going on. There we go. So yeah, you can see how precision they are. They're very sharp at the end. You get basically two per, end, so you get two chances. They do work quite well, but the nub also goes flat pretty quickly, so I try to not use these as crazy, just to save them, because, like, again, the nub goes flat. So I think that's pretty much it in terms of like basic enamel stuff. Other random stuff is like cups. So I've shown this before, but I found that mixing in a cup like this is really helpful. I think I still got some thinner on it. Yeah, exactly. That's one thing though, Monkey, is, I think as artists, we tend to zoom in like a lot, and we tend to overanalyze our work, and so especially like concerning enamel, a lot of people aren't going to notice or care about the details, and a lot of people aren't going to notice and see, if you have one slightly off-placed line, like they're just not going to notice, and so be forgiving to yourself when you're like working with enamel. It's very easy to get caught up and want to get absolutely 100% perfect lines, but very rarely do people start that way, and a lot of people just don't do it that way anyway. So that's that. So generally when I'm mixing enamel these days, I have kind of 3 cups on the side. I have one that's like my junk cup, so I just like mix, stuff in here, and I use this to wipe away my brushes and clean it up. You can see it's a nasty gray. So yeah, I just like swirl it around. So I have like a 3-part system. I have this nasty cup, I have this cup, which is only semi-nasty, and then I've got this one. I try to keep a spare one of these with clean enamel just on the side, and the reason for that is because I use this tiny brush a lot, and what you don't want to do, and kind of good practice for your brushes in general, is you don't want solution or anything to get past the metal part here. So you don't want it all to go into the brush, because that's going to lead to flaying and spraying of your bristles. And so just that's more of a general art tip. But you don't really want to be like mixing and, you know, putting your solution up to like here, because that's going to mess with the bristles on the inside. So I keep this one here because, you know, I just need a tiny bit, and I don't need a lot of solution to clean off this or, you know, add thinner. And so that's what I keep on the side. Then let's see. Gloves, kind of optional. I don't tend to use them. There are also pieces of equipment that you can use, especially when painting faces, that are kind of like a round wooden apparatus. It's basically like a circle, like a donut shape, and then it holds the head in the middle. So it's like a circle shape that holds the head in the middle, and that way you can grip the sides of the wooden apparatus without touching your face and touching your kit area. So I do not use one of those wooden apparatuses. They are popular among, you know, certain modelers and certain people. They're certainly not needed to paint faces or paint details at all. It's just really whatever you prefer, honestly. I have a bad habit, as you guys have seen by this point, of touching my kits, and so a lot of times I just end up holding my piece with a glove in my right hand and painting it with my left. So yeah, that's that. Let's see. Quick brainstorming. I'll definitely go into like the enamel layering method as we progress further in these streams. So I know a lot of you are kind of interested in learning how to paint eyes or paint on things, and there's definitely ways to do that with the enamel like layering method, but I will cover that as we move forward. Let's see. I think that's pretty much it in terms of like basic enamel stuff. Yeah, that's all I can think of. Let me, before I get started, let me grab the pieces that I would like to work on tonight, or at least start on, and we can go from there. Okay, pretty much, honestly, pretty much only one piece that I wanted to work on tonight, and that was this one. So this is her main apron. You can see, you know, we already painted this one, but we wanted to paint the details. Oh my goodness, this is gonna be troublesome. We wanted to paint the details kind of here and along here in that darker purple, because I didn't want to mask all of that area, and I felt it would be easier to mix enamel paints and do it. So we're gonna work on this tonight. We still have some time. We can at least get the mixture started and hopefully get like a base coat down on it, and then we'll go from there. Let me also spray just real quick these shoes, which I don't know what on earth happened to these shoes. Definitely blushed completely, but they're now a very fabulous silver color. Might as well show you guys on stream. So this is what can happen when you spray too fast pearls too quickly. You can see that these are now silver. I don't know if this is recoverable, but I'm going to try spraying this with thinner, and we'll see how it goes. This is why you kind of want to pace yourself, and I think what had probably happened here is I sprayed the purple too fast and didn't let it dry enough before switching to that heavy coat of pearl. So let me spray this, and we'll see if that will help. basically cracked the code. So quick tip, you know, if you ever have that issue, chances are you're dealing with some moisture that formed underneath your coat. And so a quick way to get rid of that is just to spray some thinner, like a thin layer of thinner on top. And you can see we basically corrected this issue. And so I'm going to let this sit a little bit longer. May have to do another coat of the thinner, but for the most part that will fix things. So always happy to see stuff resolved like that, you know, where you freak out because you're like, oh my god, what did I do? What's wrong with this paint? And having the knowledge to just correct that quickly makes this hobby a lot more enjoyable, to be honest. Okay, so let me turn on my fan a little bit higher. Hopefully my voice isn't still cracky. I'm pretty sure I turned the noise gating thing off, so should be fine. Okay, so what are we gonna do? We want to mix this color. So we want to mix this kind of dark purple color. It doesn't have to have the pearls on it, but we do want it to be darker. So I'm kind of going to use down here as a reference. And actually, let me turn off this painting reference. That way you guys can see everything, because we don't really need it anymore. If you do want to see it, let me know. Okay, so the goal, like with all of this, there is some knowledge of color theory required when you are, you know, mixing paints and trying to get colors to be exactly the same. So I need to think real quick about, and I wish that I had just the plain plum color. Okay, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna spray a spoon real quick of just this plain color, so this one. And then we will use that as kind of a reference for mixing our enamel, because the goal, what we want here, is for the enamel color to match the lacquer top coat, especially for the details. So you don't want to mix two separate colors and then not have like your Maid shirt match up with your Maid dress or the apron, you know. So let me do this real quick. I think I just threw away the spoon, so I don't have it on hand. And move this. Okay. Back up. So I'm not going to use this spoon really for anything. I just want a quick something to look at while I'm mixing my enamel paint. Promise I'm coming back over there soon. I promise that we're going to paint enamels today. I feel like I've done a lot of talking about them. And on Monday, it's basically just going to be all working with enamels. We'll probably even be able to start the face, if I'm being honest, because I was taking a look at this kit and there's not a lot left. So anyway, I sprayed this really quick. This is not even dry yet, and it's going to get lighter than this, but we're going to use this spoon to kind of guide what color we want to mix, so we can paint the top of her hair like this, or the top of her Maid uniform. So what do I need? I need white, maybe. Black for sure. What do I have here? I'll take purple and some magenta and blue. I think that should be good for now. And I also need to mix, oh, I need another cup. One will do. Okay. And then we need some thinner, so yeah, I just basically either use an eyedropper or just pour some thinner into a cup. This one, put lacquer in it, so I'm kind of like fussed, but should be all dried now. Oh wait, this is the wrong one. Oops. This is my mixing color one. Okay, so this one will have some enamel thinner in it. Don't need too much. A little goes a long way with this stuff. But I'm already like down to like here after painting like 2 or 3 kits, so just something to keep in mind. Alright, this is drying out now, so that kind of darker color is what we're going to be seeing here. You'd think this would be drier because it's so hot in here. Okay, that's pretty close. Okay, so let's take a look. I think black for sure. Oh boy, it's gonna be something. And let's start with purple and a bit of red. And really what I do is I literally just kind of glob things into this cup until I figure out if that's the solution I like, if that's the color I like. So I'm definitely not a pro in terms of color mixing. I'm not one of those people that can, you know, like pour 3 or 4 things into a bucket and then have the right color come out. And so please bear with me. It does take me a little bit sometimes. Sometimes I get it like right away, other times it takes me a while. So I also, for some of these Tamiya brand enamels, I like to mix them with a toothpick just because they get kind of separated. The thinner gets separated from the actual paint is what I mean. Okay. And let me see if I can move this up or move my setup down. I definitely tend to work kind of toward the edge of my bench, so let me see if I can angle my camera down a little bit. Or just move this back, I guess. Okay, that's a little better view, I think. Sorry for the weird angle. Definitely next time on Monday I'm going to try to get this to zoom in a little bit more, because I realize the details may be harder to see. But for tonight, you know, we're just kind of wrapping up and mixing colors, so. Yeah, so basically with enamels, all you really need to do is just, you know, dab them into the jars and out onto your kit, and you're pretty much good. Might need some more nicer, thinner. But yeah, this is my nasty paintbrush, so I just use it to mix at this point. Definitely this needs some white. And when I'm working with the white, I try to clean my cup or clean my brush, because you don't want to pollute your paint pot. Oh yeah, we are like basically just needing a gray almost. Sometimes I just dip it in. The goal here is just to match up your colors to your airbrush colors as much as possible. If they're off a little bit, it's fine, but when you're painting on details like this that you couldn't airbrush, you want to make sure that you get that as close as possible. That's getting there, but I need a little bit of magenta, I think. Oh, this is tough. Oh my god, what the, there we go. Oh, This new. There you go. Okay, we're getting closer. But I think that this color is a bit more muted. Yeah, there's more black in this than there is purple. Enamel's a pretty messy process, if I'm being honest, so I always try to double line the paper towel before I get going on it. Also, one thing to note about enamel is it tends to dry a bit darker than you would expect. So like the color here is, you know, pretty good. And it may match really well with your kit, like when you put it on, but when it's dry, it'll look a little bit darker. So whenever you think you have the right color, generally I add a little bit of white and then it's fine after that. Just definitely need more magenta. So I can't really give too much advice about like how to mix color. How do you know what to mix? A lot of what I learned here is just, you know, by visual sight and by kind of like knowing. I know that's like not very helpful at all, but I've studied color theory kind of a lot over the years. Again, I'm really self-taught, so anything that I talk about is stuff that I picked up either by, you know, learning it online or just researching it. So he's off here, needs more magenta. But if you're interested in, you know, learning how to mix colors a little better, I suggest studying color theory, look at a color wheel, go to websites that help you like pick color palettes, because that's been really helpful for me, is seeing how colors interact when they're together. And that has been super helpful. There's one that I use pretty regularly. Let me see if I can link it. Okay. I kind of spam this link to everybody because I use it, or I used to use it all the time. Now, not so much, but this website here, coolers.co, is a website that will basically help you generate color schemes. So great for web design, figuring out figure color schemes, anything really. Very easy to use. You can press the space bar. If you're on desktop, press the space bar and it will like give you random colors. And then you can adjust the tint or the shade of the color. You can change the color entirely. And then you can lock that color in and generate, like press space again, and it will give you colors that will match specifically with that one color. So I used to use that all the time for like figuring out figure color schemes. And I still do reference it here and there. But that one's been really helpful. I also do, like I showed before, that Color Hexa website that kind of gives you an idea of how to mix color. I'm gonna pour a little bit more in here. That one also helped me. So yeah, you can see I mixed quite a bit here. The more you add, the more you like waste, but I also find that mixing more is helpful rather than less. Okay, let me grab I'm gonna wipe some of this off. So yeah, you can see I'm just putting enamel thinner on here and it's not taking off the lacquer paint. That's kind of what I mean here. And let's Oh, now this is too white. This is kind of an odd color to mix too. It's like purple, but at the same time faded out. It's mostly white and gray, or white and black. Almost there. Don't know if I've said that multiple times at this point, but okay. Try this. Still a little bit too purple. More black. A little goes a long way with these tubes as well. Again, I mix my, like I literally use it like this. I mix so much, and it still takes me years to go through these bottles, so don't be afraid. Oh, that is very close. Let me wipe this down and use a smaller bit. Just a little bit more magenta, I think, and then we're pretty much good. And this is also, again, going to get coated in the pearls, so I'm not 100% like pressed about the final color because the pearls will obscure it a little. But we do want it to vaguely match what we put on, so. Okay, I think that's pretty good to start with. There's like kind of a visible difference between the two, but not so much that I would be unhappy with it. If I were doing like a commission work or something, I would probably aim to get this color a little bit closer, but for our purposes, I think it's fine. So let me put these away. So once you're done mixing your color, I always try to put away or at least close the caps to my enamel bottles because we don't want those to dry out. It takes a while for enamel to dry anyway, but I like to preserve as much of the original thinner as possible. Okay, so and then we will hold this, put these to the side, and kind of optional here. Sometimes I have my piece on a clip, other times I just hold it in my hand, but you're really just going to go in and fill in the areas with the enamel paint. You don't want it to be super runny or super thinned out, so as I put this on, you will I'll see if I like how thin or thick it is. This seems pretty good, so what you're really gonna do, let me angle my hand a little better, is you're just gonna go in and paint. And you kind of want to get, oh god, you guys see my head? Let me adjust myself. There we go, kind of. So, yeah, you're really just gonna go in and kind of fill in the area. I promise next time we'll have a better close-up. This paint is a little bit too runny, I think, and the reason why you can see that is, well, maybe you can see it. The sides are not fully like filling in. What you want is like an even, smooth coverage, and not pieces like, not paint falling into cracks, and it needs to be smooth all over. You can kind of get by that though by putting a little bit more paint. And don't worry too much about not getting like a perfect application the first time, because the whole point of this enamel method is that we're going to be able to wipe off all the stuff we don't like. But what you do want is a nice smooth coat. So it's easy to like put paint on, but you need it to be in a smooth layer, because it's a lot harder to add a second layer of enamel and not have the previous layer come up, if that makes sense. I'm gonna grab one of these. There you go. It makes holding this a little bit easier. So yeah, this consistency is almost perfect, I'd say. It's a little bit runny, and that's just because we kept adding more and more paint and more thinner. So if you're finding your enamel's a little bit too thin, just wait a little bit. You also want to try to avoid handling your kit during this time. I mean, handling your kit in general, honestly, but sometimes you get like paint on your fingers and you don't want that to press onto your kit, because I've definitely had times where I've like gotten paint on my kit, totally didn't realize that I had like fingerprints or whatever on it, and then went ahead and sealed it, and that was then you're gonna have a lot harder time getting it off. Alright, we're gonna wait a little bit before I try to add like a second layer or adjust things. The paint will dry down a little bit, so it will dry flatter, and then you can like really start to see where it filled in and where you need to start wiping off. Okay, I'm just adding kind of a thicker coat right now. Might be too much paint, honestly. Should probably stop. Okay. Alright, yeah, I'm gonna wait just a little bit, and then as this paint starts to dry, I'm gonna try to manipulate it a little bit to fill in these cracks. It's just kind of flowing onto like off the planed surfaces into the sides. So let's see. There you go. You can see the top here and where it's wet and shiny, and kind of along the back here. And usually what I'll do here, like I take enamel painting and kind of like slow and in batches, and so a lot of times what I do is I paint an area like this, and then I clean off my paintbrushes, kind of go and get a snack or just wait around and then come back to it, because you want to make sure that your layer is kind of mostly put down and dried before you start wiping that paint off. Otherwise you're just going to get it like pulling from other areas and it's going to run off, and it's just not a good time. So we will have to wait a little bit. Not sure how long actually. And there's not too much more that we need to do tonight, to be honest. I don't intend to start the eyes tonight. I can bring them over. Let me grab them real quick. So in terms of like what's actually left on this kit, we've got her apron here. So this is going to be kind of a two-part process. We've got her top part here. She's got some kind of buckles on the side here. She's got these details I might fill in, so like these kind of crevices with the apron that we can do an enamel wash on, but I'm undecided on that. Let me check this and see if this is drying right. Okay, it's good. And that's pretty much it on that piece. And then for her shoes, which adding that thinner basically fixed everything up. I guess we could take off the tape here. We can do that shortly after I talk. So yeah, we've got these, and all we have left to do is just either the enamel wash on the details here or the belt buckles, which I'm not decided, or her shoe buckles, I guess. Not decided if I want to paint those gold or silver. We'll see how the rest of the kit ends up. And then lastly is her faces. So these are the big boys, the ones that you guys are basically waiting on at this point. We have two faces to paint, so what's going to happen on Monday is we will most likely start these. I'm pretty sure. Depends how I'm feeling. But we're gonna do the eyelashes first. So her kit comes with basically beveled like out eyelashes. You can see them here. And so we will use the enamel painting method to paint in these eyelashes first. And then this kit face will get a top coat after that. And then we'll paint the next layer. So the way this will go, now that I do have some time to explain it, is the enamel painting method and the layering method, you paint a layer of enamel, you paint a layer, or you airbrush a lacquer top coat on top, so like a gloss lacquer top coat. And then once that seals down and is cured, you can go ahead and paint your next layer of enamel on top. So there are a lot of guides out there saying, don't put lacquer on top of enamel and don't put lacquer on top of acrylic, and to some extent that's true. I think it's more true for acrylics than it is enamel. But many Japanese modelers use this technique where you basically just layer on slowly layers of enamel, and then in between you put on a gloss top coat of lacquer. And so that way every time that you paint a new layer, you're not going to be hurting the layer underneath. So what we'll do is we'll paint her eyelashes, then we will top coat those with gloss probably on Tuesday, and then on Wednesday we can go ahead and continue the face and yada yada yada. So to some extent, like, I'm anticipating we'll do most of the work during streams, but there may be one or two times where I need to do things off camera for the sake of speeding up the stream, because a lot of times my face layers end up being like 7 or 8 or 5 or 6 layers, and so that's like nearly 2 or 3 weeks of you guys just watching me paint a face, and I'm not sure that you would want to watch that or that I want to do that for so long. And so I am wrapping up my other one commission I have on my desk right now, so I'll have a little bit more time to dedicate to painting these faces, which is usually the longest part for me, at least. It takes me anywhere between like probably 8 to 10 hours to paint a face. Depends on how simple the face is too, how many layers it is. So like a lot of anime eyes vary, right? Some are way more intense and like detailed than other ones. Like this one isn't very detailed, and we actually don't even really need to apply white. So it's like a lot of times you start out, and this would be a good time to show my painting reference, I guess. Let me make this bigger so you guys can kind of see vaguely what I'm talking about. A lot of times with anime eyes, you can see there's, you know, the white of the eye, there's the outline, like her eyelashes and all of that, and then there's all the details inside. And so the more you look at anime eyes, the more you'll kind of start to notice if they're detailed or not detailed. Do they have whites? Like, is their eye shining? Are they very simplified? Do they have an iris in the middle? What color is the sclera? Like, those are things that you'll start to notice the more you work on kits and the more that you look at anime eyes and figure them out. And so for this particular kit, you can see that like it's very simplified. She basically doesn't even need or have any whites in her eyes. Let me make the Maid picture bigger. So yeah, you can see that like this kit, and this is the eyeball faceplate here, so this is the one that it came with. There's no whites in those eyes. There's like a very thick eyelash, and then looks like she outlined the eye with that black and put like a glitter or something in the middle, and then a very simple white, you know, center. And so I'm not 100% sure if that's what I want to do. This is actually the first time that I've dealt with a face that has a you know, eyes that are sunken in as opposed to like sticking out or even just like not being there. Like I've had kits that have eyes that pop in, but I've never had a kit that has eyes that are kind of chiseled in. Actually, no, to this extent, this is like the first time. There is my little cat girl kit, so the Christmas kitty. She had eyes that were basically pre-made, and so all you had to do was follow the pattern. But I've never had eyes like this, so this will be interesting to figure out. And the other eyeball is less complicated, I guess, but still it will be as complicated as we decide to make it. And it's just like a flat eye, and so think of like Chobits or like Chi eye. You know, it could be like a gradient, it could be just like flat color, it could be basically anything that you would want it to be. So I'm undecided on how I want this eye style. I'm gonna have to do a little bit of research into, you know, what I want to do. But on Monday we can at least get started, and I can paint the eyelash colors, and we can go from there. So let me just check how this is going real quick. I think I need to add just a little bit more. Yeah, it's pretty much drying up at this point, so what we'll have to do is thin it down. Get a second layer in there. Again, you don't want to be putting on the second layer when it's completely dried, because then it's gonna interact and start to dissolve the layer underneath. So usually when I'm adding more enamel, I do it while it's tacky but not dry. Okay. It's starting to pull it up. Okay. And there's no really rush or problem with making mistakes here, because you can always just soak up that enamel in the paint and try again. So, very forgiving. Alright, this looks good. I'm gonna let this sit now. Okay, so last thing we'll do before we wrap up tonight, because I don't think we're gonna have a time to clean up all that enamel, certainly not, but we can lay it down, is I'm gonna take off this masking tape off of her shoes, and that way we can analyze the damage and figure out what I need to do, if anything. And let me grab, okay, I'm gonna clean up here. A lot of times it gets risky because I like set the faces to one side, and then I nudge them off my bench or something, and so it's always a good idea to keep track of where your pieces are at. Okay. Make sure they're free of an area where you can just, like, you know, knock them off. Okay, so let's take off this tape. Now that the pieces have pretty much settled in and the paint is dry now. Where is my brush? Or, here it is. Yep, okay. We're gonna work in reverse, and the tape at the top will come off first. Peeling it slowly. Last thing we want is for that paint to come up. And if you top coated your pieces, you shouldn't really have that issue. I can already see something weird here. Oh, it's just a fuzzy. Also, you want to try to avoid hitting the paint area, you know, the one that you just painted. I hope you have all enjoyed this stream so far, and thank you for tuning in to this stream. We're definitely getting to a point where we're wrapping up on this kit, so that's exciting news. I also figured out what I wanted to do for the base, and I'm like way more excited to paint the base or work on the base, not paint it, but work on it than I am to like wrap up the eyes and stuff. Because I love adding like rando stuff onto the bases and making things, and so I did a test of what I wanted to do, and it worked really, really well. And so I'm really excited to just do this on stream and have kind of a different, not garage kit, but related to garage kits section of my stream. Okay. We're getting close to her actual straps now, so. Also a random hair somewhere, so. Ugh, there's like a tiny dent or something from me scratching with the tweezers. Alright. Okay, what you can also do when you get real close to this paint job is use an X-Acto knife and carefully pry up the paint, or the tooth, gosh, I can't talk tonight, pry up the tape. Okay, there's a couple of spots that the tape masked off that I didn't necessarily want it to, but you can see the straps came up for the most part pretty even. There's really only a couple of tiny areas where, let's see, where it's uneven. And so what we'll do is we'll go in with the enamel and kind of clear that up. Although it will be a little bit harder to do because of the straps, so I'll have to figure something out. I might just paint this kind of a darker red color and have it go. Okay. That tape kind of just peeled up right quick. And I can already see there's one or two areas that the lacquer got to that I missed, so I'll show you guys in just a second. Tiny, tiny tapes. And the other side. Very tedious process trying to get off the tape. Okay, and there's one more really tiny tape on the inside here. There we go. Okay. So most part, it's pretty good. Definitely not perfect. There's a couple of spots you can probably see, like right around here, that are excess from lacquer spraying. So I'm not sure how well it's going to show up under this lighting, to be honest. But because of that, we can do what I was telling you guys about earlier in the stream, which is take a tiny precision Q-tip and some lacquer thinner and just quickly wipe it off. And it will wipe it off right away. But you have to make sure that your lacquer top coat is already glossed before you add on the next lacquer top coat. Or lacquer paint, sorry. And you don't want to use your Q-tip or toothpick, whatever, too much. Because it's going to start to hold paint and smudge it. So I do this very quickly. Yeah, it took off a little bit too much. That's fine. So the purpose of this is just trying to smooth out and eliminate any paint, so you don't have to coat it with enamel later. I usually only use this around lines and edges. That one needs this. So yeah, really just quickly dipping this precision swab into lacquer thinner and rubbing it on the area that I want to remove. Usually it's just like an area that you missed during masking. Okay. And that's pretty much it. So I didn't expect a perfect masking job, especially because these are like so small. Most of the damage, like stuff that didn't mask, is kind of along the bottom end of her shoes here. So let me see if I can get a photo actually, because it's really hard to show you guys through this angle. Let's see. Okay, that's much better. So you can see here, like this edge is not perfect, and so what we can go in and do here is mask or paint that with enamel, and so that won't really be a problem. The shininess also probably won't be that much of an issue because we are not going to see too much of it. And thankfully, the stocking color and the shoe color, they're both red pearls. So what I could do is just spray the enamel and then, or not spray the enamel, paint the enamel and fix this area up. And then spray the red pearl on top, and then it'll all look the same anyway. So that's probably what we'll be doing on Monday as well, is fixing up this area. And then after that we can apply the, well, we'll top coat it, and then we can fix these tiny details. There's like little buckles on her shoe. So I think let's take one more look at the enamel that we just painted. And where did my, oh, there it is. I'm gonna set this up for now, because we still do need to gloss top coat this. It's not fully sealed yet. But you can see that the colors now match, so that's really great. Okay, let's take one quick look at this. Great, yeah, so other than this area right here, which I will fix, this is a very solid base coat of enamel paint. This is really what we're looking for, is like a nice even coat. It's okay if your lines are a little bit off, because we're going to go in and wipe all that down and kind of fix up this area. So that stuff we'll also do on Monday. Let me just quickly kind of add another coat on this, and then we'll wrap up and say goodbyes. There we go. Well, maybe. Yep, there we go. Okay. Alright, so, wait, that's the wrong one, isn't it? Oh well. Okay, in summary, we are now pretty much done, and next stream will be on Monday, May 24th. Plan for not airbrushing, so we're going to be sticking to this setup. We're going to be going in heavy on details and working on eyelashes, I'm hoping. Just kind of getting the final stages of this kit wrapped up. Eyes will be basically a week and a half process, if, you know, slightly longer, but yeah, we'll kind of play by ear. This is a step that I'm not familiar with showing up close, so I'm gonna have to edit my camera or try to make it come a little bit closer, so you guys can try to see what I'm doing a little bit better. But yeah, exciting stuff, wrapping this kit up, and then we'll get her a nice cute base, and we'll be able to see the final like version of our work. So thanks for tuning in, you guys. I'm gonna head out now. I'm gonna get a drink because it's hot and my throat is pretty dry. I hope you guys all have a really great night, and I hope to see you on Monday when we start working on the close-up stuff. So take care. Have a good one. You too, guys. You too. Stay cool. Have a good one, guys. Bye-bye.